All right, guys, and it's 5 o'clock, which means we're going to go ahead and get started. Just a heads up, I am joined today by my cohorts in puppy development. All of us are puppy development coordinators, and they are Laura Fisher, VJ Joshi, and Barry Lynn Wood. We all work together to help you guys out and support your puppy counselors as well. I want to make sure that you are aware that this video session is being recorded today. As it always is, we try to make sure that just about every session is recorded. Sometimes we have technical difficulties, but we want to make sure that you have a library to go back and visit if you wanted to see the session again, or in case you ever miss a session, just know that you can go onto our YouTube page. There is a private playlist of videos, and you can watch all of our puppy raising videos. Lots of educational material to support you and your venture of puppy raising. Good stuff to keep in mind. So if you guys did not know this already, I am a giant nerd and I love education. I love information. I'm nonstop learning. I'm always craving new ideas and a better understanding of things. And so I will tell you that what we're going to talk about today might be on the advanced level of puppy raising. Is it going to make or break your puppy raising experience? Absolutely not. All of these terms and all of these ideas that I want to talk about are not necessary for you to dissect as puppy raisers. I want to say that off the bat, because if you feel overwhelmed, I don't want you to feel like this is concepts that you have to know and own. Sometimes you just want to know what time it is and not how to fix the watch. And so I'm telling you right now how to fix the watch. And if you don't want to know all of those details, that's absolutely fine. But for those of you that are nerds like me, we're going to jump into our slides. And one of my coordinators who we love so much is VJ Joshi, and she loves terminology. She always is so good in her presentations about giving us definitions. And I thought, let's start with some definitions so that you guys have a better understanding about what we're going to talk about today. So probably some of these terms you've heard before. You've heard the term desensitization, but what does it mean? Well, desensitization is all about a slow and gradual exposure to something that would ordinarily cause fear, introduced at a level that is so low that it means very tolerable to the dog. And if that doesn't make sense yet, don't worry, we're going to get into that more in details later. So classical conditioning often goes hand in hand with desensitization. They're buddies. They work together, and they have the most effective job together. Classical conditioning is all about creating an emotional association that occurs when two or more things are consistently paired together. Now, for classical conditioning, it is important to know that the things that we are pairing together, typically one already has an association behind it, whether we think it's something really cool or we think it's something that we may dislike. And the other thing is a neutral item. And again, we're going to talk about this. So we're going to pair that neutral item with something we either really like and think is cool or we don't like. The last term is counter conditioning. And that's very similar to classical conditioning. The only difference here is that you already have an opinion about this item. Typically, it's often in many situations a bad opinion. You often don't like it, or you may really like it and we really need to change the association with it. And so that's what counter conditioning is that you already have an association, emotional response, and we're changing that emotional association that previously was made by past experiences. And feel free, if you have questions, to go ahead and ask them. In the view that I'm at, I cannot see your questions, so hopefully our other puppy coordinators will be able to catch those questions if you put them in the chat room. All right. Hopefully that's making sense so far, and we are going to move on to the next slide. So if you have seen some of my presentations before, you've probably seen these two infographics, and I think they are very, very valuable when we talk about dog behavior. They give us information on how to assess fear, anxiety, and stress, which of course is important because as we get into desensitization and counter conditioning, we need to know what our dog's emotional state is at. Are they feeling comfortable? Are they feeling relaxed? Are they pretty chill? Or are they starting to get nervous? So the idea behind both of these infographics is very much the same. If we look at that infographic to the right of your screen, that looks like a ladder, that shows that an escalation over a period of time can cause an increased fear, anxiety, or stress level. And that some of the behaviors that may be displayed by a dog at the very early signs of fear, anxiety, or stress are things like yawning, blinking, and typically they're very rapid blinking, nose licking or full mouth swipe. Sometimes we see a dog turning their head away or avoiding a situation, turning their body away, stiffening up. Sometimes you'll see them lift their paw kind of spontaneously, but they don't necessarily no shake. You may see them walk away from a situation. One big thing that we see, and again, this becomes more obvious, is when we see a dog start to creep in the opposite direction or creep away. Their ears may be back and their tail may be tucked under all the way to their belly button. Sometimes you may see a crouched appearance. You may see dogs that roll over and expose their belly but seem very stiff. This is a very different position than dogs that are soliciting a belly rub. You may see dogs that stiffen up and start staring. You may see growling, snapping, or biting. And you don't need to be a behaviorist to see those signs. You know when a dog is extremely afraid that we can see growling, snapping, barking, and biting. So it may be easier just to see this in the pictorial version. And so the infographic on the left side of your screen is by Dr. Sophia Yin, a veterinary behaviorist. And it just shows cartoon-based pictures of all of the same things that are on the right side. Thank you, Barry Lynn, for putting that in the comments. I do appreciate it. If you Google Dr. Sophia Yin, Body Language of Fear in Dogs, you can find that. The other infographic to the right side is the ladder of aggression in dogs. All right. Now we're going to talk about some applications of creating association. So these may be valuable when a puppy or a dog of an older age does not have any experience or knowledge of how to act around a person, place, or thing. So right now, at that point, that thing that they are learning to interact around is completely neutral. It has no value. In their mind, it's neither positive or negative, pleasant or unpleasant, bad or good. So we can create an association, and most of these situations, we want to create a positive association. Another application is when a puppy or dog of an older age has had a previous bad experience and we want to change the reaction to more comfortable experience, something that they perceive is now pleasant instead of being bad. These methods are not limited to the canine species, let me tell you that, and we're going to get into this in more detail in just a few minutes. These rules can be applied to just about any dog. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about classical conditioning for baby puppies. So, just as a recap of this particular definition, it's all about creating an emotional association that occurs when two or more things are constantly paired together. What experiences, and this is a question for you guys, I want you guys to put this in the chat room. What experiences, people, places, or items would we want to expose this puppy to? So this cute little baby puppy that really has no qualms about the world. They really don't know anything. They're a clean blank slate. What would we want to expose them to create future comfort? So if we could pick all of the items that we want them to be very comfortable with and have this really pleasant association with, what would some of those items be at this baby innocent stage?
So we have some comments coming in, Melissa. We've got Jessica Smith saying being touched. Kathy Sellers said traffic. Angie says everything that we possibly can. One person said people. Lori said going outside. Mary Hattis said crate. Another Mary, I'm going to pronounce it wrong, said people. Beverly Kramer said household noises. So those are just some of them.
Awesome, awesome.
So
We're going to talk about what the process looks like in just a second, but I took a guess about some of the things that you guys might say. And I'm happy to say that many of the things that I had on my list, you guys suggested. So in my pictures, I just classified if I have this clean slate baby puppy and I want to introduce him to things that I want him to be comfortable with in the future, what might I introduce him to? Well, I often hear that adult dogs are not comfortable with getting their paws wiped. And Leader Dog is based in Michigan, and we get cold weather, we get rainy weather, we get lots of muddy grounds. And so our dogs really need to be accustomed to having their feet wiped. And so it's something that is definitely worth teaching comfort with at an early age. Crating, of course, that's a number one. We want our dogs to be comfortable in the crate. A little old lady with a walker. That might be important. That might be something that they see down the street. And while we don't necessarily want them to run and interact with it, we want them to be very comfortable and confident around it. Thunderstorms, we get no shortage of thunderstorms. I know I heard somebody say the vacuum, of course, nail trimmers, the sound of a train going by, even getting their teeth brushed. All of those are valuable things that we want to expose them to. So what does that process look like? So again, we have to remember that at this time, with this baby puppy, those things are neutral. They haven't had an experience yet. They really don't know that item from anything else. But if we start to pair it consistently and repetitively with something that the dog enjoys, and simultaneously, repetition starts to build a positive response. So I want to start to talk about this in people terms. What about Post-its? So I have a picture of Post-its. How valuable is this Post-it to you guys? Answer me in the chat room. Does this Post-it mean anything to you guys? Is it something of high value? Is it low value? Do you just kind of feel meh about it?
we're getting a lot of no, none, not at all. And I think Lori says she can't see the video. Does everyone else see the video? I see it, Melissa.
Okay. Lori, you might need to log out and log back in again. That seems to fix things. So if this Post-it has no value to you, and I start pairing it with all of your favorite items. So my friend VJ, I know she likes her chocolate. That's something very valuable to her. And I know that Let's see here. Laura, I think Laura Fisher's on here. Laura loves poodle stuff. So I might give Laura some poodle stuff. And Barry Lynn, I know she likes her athletics and being outdoor. So I'm going to reward her every time she sees a Post-it note. I pair it with a brand new kayak. And so I show her a Post-it note and I give her a kayak. And I show VJ a Post-it note and I give her a chocolate bar. Over and over again, what's going to happen to those Post-it notes? What do they represent now? They were once neutral, and now when my friends see all of their favorite items, what are they going to think about me coming around the corner with my Post-it notes? Post-its are awesome. Exactly. Very, very good. They represent something special, but previously they had no association. They were very neutral, and this is classical conditioning at its core. We took something that was neutral and we created positive association with it, and it was relatively simple in that pairing process. Now, things are not all that easy in all situations. And sometimes we have to talk about counter conditioning for bad experiences. So previously, we had neutral experiences, but now in some situations, we might have bad experiences. So I want to talk a little bit about changing the emotional association that was previously made by past experiences. What experiences, people, places, or items have often caused fear in dogs that needs to be undone? Tell me about it.
Oh, loud, sudden noises. Melissa, Patty says. Nail trimming. Others.
Oh, yes, Mary had us. Those blowing plastic bags. Those are very, very scary. Time in her crate during bad storms. Yes, thunder, a vacuum. Patsy Sellers, you are brilliant because her answer is all the stuff we said previously. And if this slide looks familiar, it's because everything that we talked about before, that we want to show puppies what the expectation is and how to feel around it. Guess what? If we miss those opportunities or a bad experience is had, then we may be in the place where we already have an association made. They may be very afraid of this process or these items, and now we have some undoing to do. We need to take that bad association and turn it into something um, um, positive. Angie says people dressed in a certain way, like with a mask on or bundled up where the dog can't see the person's face. Exactly. I normally put in here a picture of somebody wearing a sombrero, and it's kind of a joke. How often do you see somebody wearing a sombrero walking down the street? Not very often, but it could be something very frightening to some dogs, definitely. I think that we are in a unique time. So I talked a little bit about my personal pet dog. I have a puppy. She's a Rhodesian Ridgeback, and she's just about 6 months old now. And if you guys didn't hear a whole bunch of destruction going on in my background a little bit ago, she was unloading all of her toys from the toy box. But she was born in a very unique time, and many of your new puppies are born in the same unique time. They don't know life pre-face mask. So now they're going to be very naturally attuned to people wearing face masks because it's predictable and it's something that they've always seen. But for our older dogs that have never seen somebody in a face mask, it might be very scary for them. So I think that's a great, great thought. So what does the pairing process look like for counter conditioning? And again, this is something that already had a bad experience, but now we're pairing it with something very good. Well, that's something that the dog enjoys is offered simultaneously as the scary people, place, or thing. But remember, and this is an important note, this is completely for free. We're not asking the dog at that time to perform a behavior. We're not asking for them to touch, or to sit or to down, anything like that. We just want them to associate one thing with another, just like I did with my Post-it notes. When I saw VJ in the hallway, did I ask her to high five me before I gave her her candy bar? Or when I saw Barry Lynn, did I ask her to give me a hug before I gave her her kayak? Absolutely not. And so we want to make sure that we do this for free, that the good item comes completely for free with repetition. And we may need to introduce desensitization to aid in this success. So how scary is a spider to you? Do I have anybody that's afraid of spiders here? Let me know in the chat room. What's your feelings on spiders? Meh, not a big deal. And this is a black widow that I have a picture of, by the way. Kayla, extremely scary. Beverly, yes. Patty,
No.
she's not scared. Jessica says, who isn't scared? All right. So, how much undoing do we have to do to make you comfortable with the spiders? So if Angie says, I'm terrified of them, especially black widows, Angie, would you feel comfortable unmuting yourself? Because I'm going to need a favor from you.
Yes, I can unmute.
Okay. So we're moving on to this next slide. Desensitization and counter conditioning is all about making scary things small and subtle while increasing the valuable of enjoyable rewards that they are paired together simultaneously. So I had that big scary spider before, but now I shrunk down the size of my spider to barely the size of a speck. And now I've added hopefully some things that Angie's really going to like. I'm giving her diamonds. She gets to play with puppies while somebody else does all the dirty work. They take them out to park and they clean up all the gross stuff, but she just gets to play with cute puppies. I'm going to give her some money and some candy of her favorite kind. How do you feel about the black spider now?
Not such a big deal.
Not such a big deal. Exactly. So we have to remember that desensitization is about making something smaller and subtle. In some situations, that might be turning down the volume if something's really loud, or muffling sound. It may be getting farther distance. It may be decreasing your vision of something. Whatever we can do to make it smaller and subtle and more comfortable is that big part of desensitization, making it not so scary. On the verse side, we are going to pair it with all things wonderful, and our wonderful items have to be much more valuable than what the scary item is. And I have to think about how many bad experiences this animal or this person has had. If they've had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of bad experiences with spiders, well, I'm going to need many repetitions of pairing something uncomfortable with something very valuable in order to dig ourselves out of the hole. If we just do a 1-to-1 ratio, so if we just introduce the spider and the good things one time, is that going to be enough? Is it going to get us to a place that our dog is feeling comfortable or our person is feeling comfortable? Likely not. That's where that repetition comes in, is we have to have more good experiences than bad ones. All right, guys. So now we get to have some hands-on fun, and we're going to talk about some scenarios. And I'm hoping to have a couple of guinea pigs. I've got 2 scenarios to set up to talk about. Does anybody want to unmute themselves? And if you don't feel comfortable, that's okay. You can also throw some ideas in the chat box. So let me know if you want to unmute. If not, just give me your ideas in the chat box. So we have future leader dog Castro, and he's a 7-month-old black lab. He balks or shies away and kind of darts the opposite way or puts the brakes on when he's on walks, when nearing the end of the street and he sees an inflatable snowman in the neighbor's yard. And I don't know about you guys, but up and down my street, there's dozens of these things. What does desensitization look like for this dog? Any ideas?
I'll unmute Melissa.
Oh, is this Debbie?
Yes, it is.
Hi, Debbie. What do you think? What would
What I would do is start farther enough back where the dog is comfortable, treat, give them a yes, treat, maybe take one step forward, treat, and then slowly continue to do that until the dog is okay with it. It may take a couple days.
I think that sounds great. So my question for you, Debbie, is as we are getting closer in each of these intervals, do we need to make future leader dog Castro behave in a certain way? Do we need to ask him to sit, or do we need to ask him to lie down or go touch the?
No, nothing. Just walk, take a step, let him be as comfortable as he wants. If he's uncomfortable, back up a step and start over again.
Awesome. Very good. So we're going to add to the scenario, and I have lots of good feedback coming in. What if we are feeding future leader dog Castro some of his dog food? So normally on your walks, you take a bag of his dog food with you, and normally that works out really good. In this scenario, though, when he sees the snowman, he stops eating. What are some other things that we can do?
I can unmute on that one too.
Okay, who's talking?
Patty Vineyard.
Hi, Patty.
Hi.
What do you think?
I always mix up my treat bag with some high density treats that I can grab very quickly. And quite often that will help my dogs to concentrate a little more because it means more to them than the dog food.
Yes, definitely. I make little trail mix, and sometimes I put a couple of pieces of like jerky in my bag because then it makes everything else scented and a little bit more potent. Yeah.
And the biggest thing is that I can grab it quickly when I may not have been able to get it quick enough before, because sometimes I'll have like a peanut butter thing someplace or something and I can't get it quick enough. So I want something in my bag that I can really grab quickly and get the dog's attention.
Absolutely. Very good. I like that idea. And we have lots of other good supportive ideas coming in. Lynn says, talk to her puppy. Definitely. And really, it's important to remember in this scenario that we want to do the thing that is most comforting and most rewarding to your dog, whatever is going to make them feel most comfortable. I always give the example that if this were me in this scenario and I was afraid and somebody decided to give me a chocolate bar, it's not going to make me less afraid because I don't like chocolate. So we need to do what we find is most enjoyable for a dog. I think Mary Haddis had a great idea. She said, play with a toy. And I think that's a great idea. If there's a special toy that your dog likes, pull that out of your bag or out of your pocket while you're on your walk and let them play for a little bit. Definitely incorporate some tasty tidbits or even your squeezed container of peanut butter, and that would be a really high reinforcer. Now, if you find that you need to use a higher reinforcer than something like that, then let somebody in puppy development know. Talk to your puppy counselor, talk to your puppy coordinator, and let us know that you're working through a really tough scenario, and we might be able to give you other temporary recommendations for kind of a special consideration. Yeah, definitely petting or higher value treats. Great ideas, guys. Linda says, get out of the situation. Definitely. Don't be afraid to abort the mission. So if you are walking and your dog becomes petrified, let's say you get a big gust of wind and the snowman blows over, that's not the time to do your desensitization. That's the time to get the heck out of there as quickly as you can, and you can work on desensitization at a later time. One of the comments, I didn't see who said it, but they said work with your neighbor and see if they can help you. Definitely. Maybe the snowman inflated or not fully inflated to make it a little bit smaller and less scary. Sometimes those inflatable items have a motor running. So is that part of the thing that's causing the fear? Do we turn the motor off so it's less scary? All of those are great, great examples. Very, very good. So we have one more scenario, and then we'll open it up for questions if anybody has questions. So if I have somebody that is willing to unmute and work through the situation, thank you so much to Patty and Deb for doing the last one. This is future leader dog Bitsy, and she's a female golden retriever that's 5 months. She has never had her teeth brushed before, but her raiser is a dentist and wants to give this a try. What does classical conditioning look like? And remember, with classical conditioning, this is neutral to her. She hasn't had an experience with toothbrushing yet. She has no idea what the expectation is. How do we teach her to have a pleasant association with classical conditioning? Anybody want to chime in and let us know?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Well,
And
you
who's
could.
talking?
This is Deb DePore.
Hi, Deb.
Hi. You know, assuming that the dog is already used to sort of standing calmly and being touched, etc. You get a whole bunch of really high value treats and your toothbrush or your finger brush, and just start gradually just by holding it out in front of the puppy. And if it maybe even looks at it, you reward, and then moving it closer, and just tons of rewards as eventually you just, you know, touch the thing to the face, and, you know, just taking it in little teeny increments with rewards, and then lift the lip up and touch a tooth and take it away and reward, etc. until you're, you know, and just maybe even break it into several days and not expect to give a full, you know, mouth toothbrushing on your first attempt, but just making some associations that are positive with the brush.
That sounds perfect. So I'm going to have, this is a trick question I'm adding in. So how would we know if future leader dog Bitsy is uncomfortable? If she's starting to develop a fear of the toothbrush, what would we look for?
Trying to get away from it.
Perfect.
Wiggling, you know, just backing up, putting her ears down, just looking distressed in any way,
Yes.
panting,
Yes.
drooling.
Panting, drooling. Yes, absolutely. If you feel, and we have some great things. Lori is saying aggression. Patty Vineyard is saying she might pull away. Not coming when she sees the brush. Very good. Avoidance, kind of dodging their head away, burying their head, looking away. All of those let us know that this dog is not comfortable with this interaction, and we might need to back up a couple of steps. So you had a really great explanation of how we slowly introduce this, and we pair it with something that is powerful and wonderful and beloved by the dog. But at any point we see stress, anxiety, or fear, which you guys have done a great job of describing what that might look like, we know we need to back up a step. So it may just be that we do something very simple like store the toothbrush where we store the food. Now, most dogs know where the good cabinet is, right? Doesn't everyone have a good cabinet that has dogs? It has the food, it has treats, it has all the good stuff. They always go sit by that cabinet and they anticipate something good. So what happens if we store the toothbrush in the good cabinet? And we're going to give a dog a treat for free, but at the same time, I pull out the toothbrush, I show them the toothbrush, I give them their good treat, and then the toothbrush goes away and we go on to the next day. Over a period of time, we're starting to create this new association that the toothbrush equals something good. And guess what? We can do this with nail trimmers or anything else that we want to expose the dog to. We can start building just by lifting up the dog's lip using food at the same time. So we lift up their lip while that finger brushes on your finger, and we give food at the same time and start pairing what the expectation is together with something that is wonderful. And again, our reminder is that the food comes absolutely for free. We're not asking for them to perform a behavior. We're doing this just for fun and just creating a positive association. Great, guys. Great jobs. So, of course, I want to thank you for attending and opening it up to general questions. I think that this is my last time that I get to teach a session to you guys before the holiday. So I just wanted to take a time to say thank you to all of our puppy counselors, all of our puppy raisers. You guys are rock stars. You guys are great about attending these sessions and listening to what we have to say. You guys are very thoughtful and very creative, and I'm very fortunate to be surrounded by some amazing people in this organization. So thank you all for what you do. If you have any questions, just let me know.
This is Patty Vineyard. I was taking future leader dog Freya out. I think she's about 3 months right now. And I walked to the end of the driveway and she acted very fearful. So I just backed up and we stayed on the lawn. Another time she'll walk out there like it isn't nothing. But I don't know, she might just be hitting this point of things are starting to scare her once in a while. And I don't think I ever had that happen with any of my other dogs. But I just took her how far she was comfortable and then took her out another day. And she went a little farther, and if she acted a little bit fearful, just brought her back real quick and let her just get comfortable again. I think she'll just get past it pretty quick that way. You got any other ideas of what to do with her? Is that just totally what I should be doing?
Yeah, so I think there are a couple of ideas. You said that this is on your driveway, right?
Yeah. Or leaving the corner of my grass
Did
or
you
whatever. It was about the time you hit the road.
So we have a couple of things that we can do. We can pair it with something really wonderful, like maybe we let her play with a food puzzle toy right around that corner. Or we go out and we do some training. If she likes some training, we might do training out there because that's really fun too, especially when we're doing positive reinforcement-based training. We may take a toy out there for her to play with. The other thing is that I might go stand in that area, and when she starts making her own strides and she walks in that direction of the scary area, then I want to mark and reward her for doing that completely on her own. This is really hard because people have this desire, this natural instinct to want to hint and give clues on where for the dogs to walk, but I just want them to figure out completely on their own. If I put my feet just slightly over this line, my mom's probably going to reward me with something awesome. And then again, we're building positive associations with that area that she's not as comfortable with.
Okay. Well, and I was trying to do this in a way that she's making the choice, that I'm not forcing her to move forward if she doesn't want to, because I mean, I can train in the yard a little longer or take her in the car and take her out and, do that way. So it's not a big deal how fast she does it, but I just want her to be very comfortable every time she does do it.
Excellent. Excellent. So my scenario, and I know that so many puppy raisers, especially the ones that I see in my coordinator groups, you guys always know my recommendation is going to be get it on videotape and let me see what it looks like. Sometimes it's really hard for me to be in every place. So while we can't be on your property with you, if you get a little video snippet, we might see that aha and go, that's where we need to work at. And either your puppy counselor or your puppy coordinator can help you out and support you through that.
Yeah, that's true. I wasn't thinking about that on this one.
Thanks for chiming in with a question, Patty.
Thank you.
So I see Mary Haddis, you have a question. How often in a day can you do counter conditioning if you don't feel you are making any progress? If you're not making any progress, we might need to back up and look at it from a different angle. And again, that's where videotaping my sessions really comes in handy. Sometimes when you're right in the mix of things, it's really hard to see where the struggle may be coming from. And so sometimes I like to videotape my sessions and I go back, take a closer look and see if I need to make modifications. Behavior modification, especially in this scenario, when we have something that is scary and we're turning it into a positive, really can be exhausting. So for my people that did not like our spiders or our black widow spiders, if I did that multiple sessions per day, you would be overwhelmed. It would be exhausting. And so we may not want to do it as frequently. I'm thinking maybe one session a day. Sometimes you skip sessions and that's okay too. If you are feeling stuck, then always ask for help. Somebody that has a different set of eyes and a different viewpoint might be able to help you out and support you. Oh, Lori had some great ideas. I think this was for Patty. She says, your fear with your puppy might be associated to having an open garage door or an animal in their yard. So those are things to be aware of. I always, and you feel kind of goofy when you're doing it, get on the ground and look like a dog. So I look to see what's in my line of sight, what may be out, what I may be perceiving, because there may be something that's very scary and obvious to her. It's just not obvious for hers, for us. All right, guys, hopefully I answered all your questions. Thank you so much. If you see the pictures, those are my dogs that I have at home. I just thought I would show you a fun picture before we go into the holidays. Thank you guys for attending. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.